Hey guys, welcome back with another video for Brown Duck Solutions, your local merchant processing company. I'm Shiloh Money, and today I wanted to do a quick little video about understanding a little bit more merchant processing statements. Um, they look like this. I'll end up showing y'all a little bit better on the screen for you to see, and you can kind of break it down with me. This was by Card Connect, a guy here locally has this, and he's that's why I folded it back. That's why it looks a little bit funny. I don't want to show his information. But Card Connect is owned by Pfizer. It's a very big company, so I wanted to use this one because I feel like a lot of people can relate to it. And I just wanted to do this as informational, for y'all to better understand your merchant statements. For those of you that don't know, a merchant statement is provided to you by your merchant processing provider, right? So, for example, this one is Card Connect that's owned by Pfizer, right? And there's usually another company that does it through. So, like for example, we deal with Card Connect. So Brown Ducks offers Card Connect. So that's why sometimes you're like, well, why is it the guy I work with is Brown Ducks, and then the other guy is on the paper it's Card Connect. Well, it's because they're a connector, right? They're a third party. That's what we do a lot of, is just we're connecting people. Yeah. So there's a million different companies out there. Like there's Central Payments, Card Connect. There's TSYS, Global Payments. Yeah, I think WorldPay is a big one too. Like y'all use like Stripe and the Square, real right. So yeah, I just wanted to show y'all a merchant processing statement and how you can better understand it, and how to find out maybe your rate. It'll give you an overall rate, unless you have a software like we do, our company does, that can run through it and give an like, oh, you pay this much for Discovery or Amex cards, whatever. You won't be able to find out the exact amount unless you're willing to type out numbers and go through all that. It's a pain in the butt to do it by hand, but yeah. So to jump into this, this is what his looks like. This guy, right? It's got I'll end up showing you on screen, but it's got your merchant name, your address, and then on the bottom, right halfway through, it says total amount submitted. Next is chargebacks, reversals, adjustments, and fees, and then your total amount processed. I took this guy because it's very general. And average, right? His numbers and the way it looks and things like that. So this is a total mom and pop shop here in town. And so some of y'all might have numbers that are way bigger, way lower. This is just an average that we found. So his total amount submitted is $11,053.34. Chargebacks 0, adjustments 0, and his fees are going to be what was subtracted, right, for the end of the month. This was March, the month of March, was $393.96. And so his total amount processed was $10,000, $10,659.38. So that's what was ended up being deposited into his account, was the $10,000. But what he actually processed was the $11,000. And so yeah, how to find out your overall? You can find that out is you just divide the numbers, right? You just do a little bit of math. So you'll take the $393 for this guy, for instance, and you can divide by the 11,000, and that will give you an overall percentage of credit card processing fees, which it gives you a pretty decent idea. Oh, I'm spending 2% of my revenue is going to credit card fees. Like, oh, I don't want to spend 2%. You can readjust things, right? Just depends on what you want to do. But to further dive into this guy is using Interchange, which Interchange is basically they take a certain percentage for each card, right? And so let's say his overall interchange percentage is 2%. Well, it's going to be 2% plus the 10 cents or 12 cents, 15 cents, whatever it is, per transaction. Um, this guy's, I can end up showing you there online what his overall interchange rate looks like, because we have the software that does that. And we can show you that. It's pretty easy to understand, especially if you have a local credit card processing or any guy. They'll do a comparison on your numbers, and they'll end up showing you, hey, this is what you're spending a month. And then average sales guys can be like, well, this is what we can save you. If it doesn't matter, right? You just want to know what your number is. So continuing on with that, most people just look at the fees and they're like, oh, cool, $300 was taken out this month. That's about average. Or if they see, oh, $500, ooh, that's a hair raiser, or whatever it may be, right? That's what they look at. So this breaks down your card types, how much you're processing. This guy's very average, processes most Visa cards. Next average is debit, ATM. Depends on what type of industry you're in, where you're at. If it's a total tourism town, well, your discovery stuff's going to be in Amex is going to be way higher, because a lot of people travel with that, right? They want to get those points while they're traveling, because they know they're going to spend the money. So your rate's going to be a lot higher than, per se, a guy like this that gets a lot of debits and credit cards. It shows you your batch summary for each day, how much was deposited in, your items for that day that were sold. This guy had no chargebacks, reversals, so 0, adjustments 0. And then we hop on the fees. So it shows you your MasterCard fees, Visa, Discovery, American Express, which is, American Express is expensive. Like he had one fee on American Express, and it was $2.25 for a single charge, right? They're just, it's pricey to process those. And it goes down through all that, and then at the end, it ends up showing like now this is the interesting part that I want y'all to pay close attention to, because this is where the fees that affect you, right? So there are account fees which come directly from the processors, right? So like, for example, us, the Brown Ducks, this is what we charge our customers. And then there are fees like Visa, Amex, MasterCard. Those fees are unchangeable. We can't change those, right? But there's your processor fees that are changeable. So definitely look at this and see, even on your merchant statement, and see, hey, what is my processor charging me? This guy, he has, let me see, VI commercial solutions fee. He's paying, let's deduct 3 cents. Monthly location fee, $1.25. Visa network fee, $2. Regulatory product fee, let me see what that one is, $14.95, pretty average. Platform access monthly fee is $34.95. So what that, he uses Clover, which is through Card Connect, right? Fiserv. So that's that charge, because he's using a POS system. So that is the $34.95, the platform that it's using, the POS, right? And then here he has a Transformer monthly fee, or excuse me, TransArmor, which is a protection against like cybersecurity type stuff. So the total account fees is $59.18, and then his total is right the $393.96. Okay, so we're on the fee part, right? So we want to look a little bit more into that. So you have your total services charged for this guy, for example, is $43.86. Those are fees that, like Amex, Discovery, stuff like that, you can't change, right? That's getting taken. Now they're getting their piece of the pie no matter what. But you have the total interchange charges, program fees, which comes out to $207 for this particular merchant. Those are totally changeable. So look at your merchant statement and see how much your processor is charging you. If it looks like majority is coming out from your processor, you may look at your account fees and see, well, am I PCI compliant, right? This guy is, because I think he was newly set up, but after 6 months, they start charging you. And I've seen as low as $10 a month on PCI non-compliance, up to $150 a month. And that's the PCI compliance, is basically saying, hey, I understand this credit card fraud. I understand when I see it, I'm protected against it. And I'll give you for an example why it's important to be PCI compliant. First off, it saves you money, right? If you're getting charged $100 a month just to be non-PCI compliant, it adds up, right? At the end of the year, and especially years on being non-PCI compliant. So that's one. It's a money thing. The second thing is it's fraud. It's a fraud resistance, right? So, for example, we had a company that we're trying to work with out here in Price, and they were non-PCI compliant. They had a guy come in. They're a steel manufacturer place. He charged $8,000 for a credit card, and then literally the same day he went and bought it, disputed it, and they said, "Hey, what the hell? We didn't get our money, the $8,000." And they said, "Well, are you PCI compliant?" And that's what the bank said. And they were like, "No, we're not PCI compliant." And they said, "Well, then there's nothing we can do about it." So that's what it protects you against. So they ended up losing a little bit more than $8,000 because they did an investigation on it. And the bank ruled that, hey, because you weren't PCI compliant, that falls on you. But let's twist the tables, turn the tables. Let's say they were PCI compliant and the guy disputed it. Well, the bank would have been like, okay, well, you understand that there's fraud and things like that. It happens. Here's your $8,000 back, right? So that's what it protects you against. And let's say you're non-PCI compliant and you have several people do that. That could be tens of thousands of dollars. That is lost, that there's literally nothing that you can do about that. So that happened to that company and they were pissed. And so they understand now, dude, it's only like you have to do it like once a year. So once a year when that time comes around, dude, they're on it. They're hopping on getting PCI compliant. It's just a little survey you do. It's pretty boring. It takes a while. And the questions are very just weird. Like, it's just goofy. But, I'd rather save the $100 and spend an hour of my time doing that to save $100 a month and possibly further thousands of dollars in the future for my company, right? So look at that. If you have a non-PCI compliant feed, look, see if you can get that figured out. Usually your local sales agent can help you with that, figure it out, and they'll send you emails, and they should send you emails if you're non-PCI compliant every month that are just annoying, that usually go to spam, they're in your trash. So definitely look at that, who your provider is and what's going on there. So yeah, and then the next page for this guy breaks down each card, MasterCard, Visa, Discovery, and it tells you your percentage of sales, number of transaction with that, your interchange / program, cost per transaction, your subtotal. And so MasterCard total for this guy was $370.60. Number of transactions for that month was 23, and he got deducted $8.17 overall from his interchange program for MasterCard, right? Visa is going to be a lot higher because he had 440 transactions. That was $8,000. That's a good chunk of his. I mean, he only processed $11,000. So literally, 3/4 of his sales were right there. But what got pulled out was $130, right? So you can see the difference in cost. I mean, only $370 was processed on MasterCard and $8 was pulled out. Well, $8,000 was processed on a Visa card, but only $130 was pulled out. So you can see it's a lot cheaper to run a Visa or a debit card, right? So it goes through that. And then, interchange charges, program fees, it ends up, your debit card totals, his was $1,938.26. And it just breaks it down like that. And then his total interchange program charges was $0 for debit card. It literally costs nothing to run a debit card for this guy. So that's a deal and a half right there. I don't blame him. So debit cards, because there's no risk at it at all. They either have the money or don't, right? There's nothing to it. And then at the end, it says total gross reportable sales by TIN. That is just your gross sales. His was $10,000, $10,154.51. And then for his 2025 gross reportable sales is at $22,000 because it's in March. So by December it's going to be like, for some companies it might look like $1 million, it might look like $500,000. For this guy it's going to look like it's going to be closer to $150,000, right? So that is your basic breakdown of a merchant statement. It looks like a lot of numbers. Just kind of, you don't have to read every line of numbers. You don't need that. Basically, what I would recommend is to take your total, how much was processed, divide it by the how much was taken out, your fee, to get an overall total of your interchange, or which is, I say interchange because that is what literally like 80% of the world uses. Let's say you're using a dual pricing or something like that. Well, your processing fees is going to be nothing, right? Because you're passing it on to the customer. They're paying the 3%, 4%, whatever it may be. So all you're getting charged is, let's say, your program fee. So let's say you have your Clover program fee or your POS, right? And then whatever your processor charges. We charge $40 a month to do dual pricing, and it literally costs the customer nothing, the merchant, right? Nothing to do that, because you pass it on to the customer. It's literally just $40 a month, and then you're good to go, right? All you're paying is for services at that point. So it really just depends on what you have, what you use. Definitely, I recommend always, look at your numbers, see what you're paying, contact your local sales rep agent. Be like, dude, I've been with you for X amount of years. Let's work something out. Let's get a little bit lower, right? It doesn't hurt to ask. It really doesn't. But I understand sometimes it's just another thing to add to the list of things to do. So I really hope this was informational and educational, and it helped y'all out understanding a little bit more of your merchant processing. And yeah, I'll put a lot of this stuff online, and we can go from there, like, so you can see the photos and as we break it down. And yeah, I hope y'all have a good rest of your day. Thank y'all.